Hey, how's it going? davidinark here, and today I'm going to show you a little tutorial that I've gotten several questions about, and it has to do with recording the game while you're kind of moving the camera and recording slow motion. So we're going to talk about a couple of different ways to do that, and one way is what I call kind of the simple way. As the game is playing, you're going to hold the Alt key and then press the left arrow key, and you'll notice in the upper left corner it tells you how fast it's going, and you see that I can slow things down. I can slow them down even more, and while that's happening, I am holding the right mouse button down on the mouse while dragging the mouse around the vehicle. Now I can hit Alt and use right arrow to speed things back up again. And again, I can just slow things down as we plow into the side of the wall. So to me, that's one of the simplest ways to do that. As I'm doing this, obviously, I am recording this with whatever recording software. In my case, I'm using the GeForce Experience. You might be using OBS or whatever. One of the other big questions related to this is, how do I hide the user interface? And that is Alt-U. So now I am hiding the user interface. We are going to drive along. Now, the downside to hiding the user interface when you're doing a one take recording like this is that when I hit the Alt and left arrow keys, I don't really know how slow I'm going. I don't know what times factor this is. So you kind of have to eyeball it, and you kind of have to get used to it. I'm sure there are certain folks who have memorized, how many clicks is each speed. But, if things are looking a little too slow, then you can bump them up. But here you see I'm again holding the right mouse button down and dragging the mouse where I want it to go. Oh, look at this. It's going to be beautiful. Oh, that's gorgeous. Man, this game is awesome. All right. Sorry, I digress. All right. So one of the other things, though, is that in addition to using the right mouse button and dragging the mouse around, I am in what's called orbit cam right now, and I'm going to go ahead and Alt-U to turn my interface back on. If I hit C, then that will tell me which camera I'm in. Notice up in the top corner it says I'm now in the driver camera. This is the hood cam. This one happens to be what's called external. Now you'll notice you may or may not notice, I'm actually still holding the right mouse button down. I'm dragging the mouse around. I have no control. You have no control of the camera in the external view. That's kind of like a built-in TV camera mode. And then you get turned back to orbit. So one of the other things that you can do is you can hold the Shift key, and while holding Shift, tap C, and that will put you into free cam, and you can use WASD to move your camera around where you want it to go. Now I'm still in slow-mo. Oops, went the wrong way. All right, so now there's real time. Now if I press the home key, it's going to reset my truck back at the top, but it left my camera down here because I am in free roam, free camera. So I can hold Shift-C. That'll take me back up here. So just for the sake of argument, I can do Shift-C, and maybe I'm going to use WASD to move the camera down here a little ways. And what's really cool about the game is that even though the camera is in free camera mode, I can still use my controller or my arrow keys on the keyboard to drive my vehicle. And again, I can still do Alt and minus. Oops, except I'm hitting the wrong key. So I can do Alt and minus. It'll slow things down. And so now as I'm pushing W and A while holding the right mouse button down and moving the mouse around, you can see I'm kind of getting this kind of cool overhead helicopter view. And I am controlling that using the WASD keys and holding the right mouse button down while moving the mouse. And so that is another way that you can control the camera while you are recording video. All right, so we're going to speed things up again. By the way, if you want to get back to where you're actually back at the truck, Shift C, and that will take you to whatever camera was last associated with the truck. So if I had done free cam while I was in external view, right now this would be in external view. So that's one way to record video where you slow things down and change the camera angle. Another way is to drive your vehicle. All right, so I've got my vehicle going here, and when I get to a certain spot, I'm going to pause the physics of the game. Basically, I'm going to pause the game. So here we are driving down here, and I hit J to pause the game. Notice it says press J to resume. Now from here, again, I hold shift and I tap C. That's free cam. I'm going to position the camera where I want it to go. So let's just, for the sake of argument, let's say I want it to go about here, maybe. Okay. Again, I can hold Alt and tap the left arrow key to slow things down. And then once I am satisfied that this is where I want it to be, I press J again, and now the truck is going to go sailing off the jump in slow motion until it gets down to where I want to make another camera cut. So in this case, I'm going to call that good there. Again, I'm still in free camera, so I can move around. By the way, if you're in free cam, you can hold shift while you're pressing WASD, and that will speed things up. So that speeds up your camera. So actually, in this case, I'm going to do shift C to get back into the truck. And I think for now, I'm going to go ahead and continue the slow-mo. So I hit J to continue the slow motion fall here in the truck. Now I hit 8 times. That's probably a little too slow. I'm going to speed it up 1 as we come down, and we are about to land. So now as we're about to land, or as we land, I can go ahead and speed things up back to real time. Again, holding the right mouse button down while I'm spinning the mouse, moving the mouse around, and getting different angles, of the truck falling in the water. Now, when you do that, what's going to happen is in your recording, everywhere you've hit pause, everything that you've done, that's part of the recording of the game. So that's been recorded either in GeForce Experience or in your OBS, and you'll have to go into your editor and cut those out. So I'm going to jump over into my video editor real quick so that you can see what that looks like when we do that. So hang on just a second. All right, so now I've pulled up my video editor. I happen to be using Adobe Premiere Elements, like, I don't know, 15 or something, so it's fine. When I am in this, when I'm in the editor, I can come along here, and the main thing that I'm looking for are the places where I paused my video. And so I can see that a couple of ways. Let me zoom in here. One of the ways that you can see in your video where you've paused is by looking at your audio track. In the audio track, you're going to see a sudden sharp drop right where things aren't making noise anymore, and then you'll see another place where things start making noise. What I usually do with this is I'll kind of play the video until it hits the pause part. Okay, so there is where the pause shows up, and then I back it up 1 frame at a time until I notice that the vehicle is moving, right? So if I keep backing up frame, you'll notice that as I move forward, frame, there's another, okay, right here, notice that I can go back and forth in frames and it's not moving. That means that the game is actually paused even though the pause indicator hasn't shown up. So I want to actually back this up to the last place that I actually moved. Then I split the video there and we jump ahead. Let's see, actually I jumped ahead a couple of times in here, didn't I? So we see that this is where the truck starts to move. So likewise, I don't want the resume thing. I don't want the pause indicator in my final video. So I would step one frame at a time until it disappears. And the moment it disappears, you can go ahead and make your cut. And then I'm going to delete out the part that I don't need. And so now when these play together, it should be pretty smooth. So as it drives, it cuts immediately to that part where I am sending that truck sailing across the way, and down it goes. Once again, I'm going to get my pause indicator here in just a moment. There it is. It popped up. So I'm going to back it up several frames until not only the pause indicator is gone, but remember, I'm also looking for the movement of the vehicle. I want to make sure that the vehicle is actually still in motion when I make my jump cut to the next part. And it's okay to be off by a frame or two, because generally speaking, our eyes aren't going to miss a frame or two. And in fact, it's actually okay if you end up with a couple of frames that seem to overlap each other. Again, our eyes are going to make that continuity. You'll be okay. So I make another slice there. I can delete that part I don't want. And now this is the part that we edited. I come in here. We're going full speed. We're doing slow motion as we jump off of the ramp. And here I probably spent a little too long in slow motion watching it go over, but that's okay. As we cut back, you'll notice that we have cut back here. So the key takeaway for this part of things is that sometimes in order to get the exact angles and views that you want, you are going to have to make those edits yourself. And then here, I didn't actually cut away at all. Remember, we sped things up while I was driving. Another key takeaway, Alt-U will hide this user interface in the game. Now, it's way too late now. This is already finished product, but anyhow, there you go. All right, so we've seen a couple of different ways that you can record your video while changing the speed of your vehicle in BeamNG Drive, and also using the mouse to move the camera around. There are, of course, several other things that you can do. Primarily the one that I would recommend that you check out is the camera path tool. I personally have not played with it yet. I know a lot of folks do play with it and have played with that, but you can go into the world editor by hitting the F11 key. So if I pause the game here and I hit F11, that will bring up the world editor, and inside the world editor you can play with the camera path tool, in which case you can create literal camera paths where the camera will follow your direction in the game. So you can tell the camera, turn here, pan here, zoom here, go up, go down. I've not played with the camera path tool, with the path camera tool. However, that is definitely another way that you can get in there and play around with how the camera behaves while you are recording your videos. I don't know if anybody else has created a tutorial on that. That's kind of a good question. So I may at some point jump in there, start playing around with it, and whatever I learn, I will pass it on to you. So there you go. Hey, thank you so much for asking about how to do this. I hope this helps you guys out there as you are making your own BeamNG videos and or just playing with the game in general. Oh, look at that. Yeah, grind that rail. Awesome. You got any other questions, problems, suggestions, horror stories? Feel free to leave those down in the comment section below, and I'll try my best to get to those. Absolutely. Thank you so much to Hero of God, GamerGull, and LosWilko for supporting me on Patreon. As always, thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed this. I'm davidinark. Have a great day.